John Bolton indicted, and it doesn't look good. Let's check it out. And welcome to Rob Schmitt Tonight. Trump's former national security advisor John Bolton indicted late this afternoon. A grand jury in Maryland, 18 charges, all related to the mishandling of classified documents. Bolton expected to surrender to the FBI as early as tomorrow in a case that seems fairly cut and dry and potentially quite serious. Remember, FBI agents searched Bolton's Maryland home and D.C. office over the summer, seizing multiple documents labeled secret, confidential, classified, including some about weapons of mass destruction. The indictment, which just came out a little bit ago, details that Bolton allegedly shared classified information, highly classified information, with his wife and also his daughter, neither of which have security clearances. Bolton shared diary-like entries that summarized his daily activities while he was the national security advisor, at times referring to them as the editors of his upcoming book in emails that have been found. All of this according to the FBI. So that's where we're at with John Bolton. It is a pretty wild turn of events for a guy who sounded like this after the FBI raided Mar-a-Lago, the home of a former president, in search of classified documents.
It's important that everybody take a deep breath here. This is a very serious matter, and it would be better if we could let the legal process play out. I know that may be frustrating to some people, but the seriousness of it itself dictates that we try and proceed in the most orderly way we can.
Okay. Well, that makes this much more interesting, right? And here was the president just about 2 minutes, it would seem, after John Bolton was indicted today in the Oval Office.
Just indicted by a grand jury in Maryland. Do you have a reaction to that?
I didn't know that. You told me for the first time, but I think he's, a bad person. I think he's a bad guy. Yeah, he's a bad guy. It's too bad, but that's the way it goes.
The case against him?
That's the way it goes, right? That's the way it goes. Will I what?
Have you reviewed the case against him?
No, I haven't. But I just think he's a bad person.
Alex Marlow is the editor-in-chief at Breitbart. Matt Schlapp, the CPAC chairman, with us tonight on the breaking news from late this afternoon. Good to see you both. Alex, they're going to say that this is part of the revenge tour of the president going after a guy that he clearly hates. What do you make of what we saw today?
I mean, first of all, I'll give you the easy answer, Rob, and that's who cares. These people did everything they could to try to end Trump's life, bankrupt them, keep him in jail. And all of this to undermine our democracy, to make it so that we don't have a choice in who the president is, try to cancel Trump ahead of the election so that we, the people, didn't have a chance to choose our president. But so that's number one. But I'll tell you from a legal front, I mean, obviously he had classified documents, it appears, that he shouldn't have had, and used them to try to make money. So he used his national security advisor status to get security clearance, to get documents, and then to use it to sell a book. And he was warned at the time that this was probably illegal by a judge. Remember that. A judge warned him at the time. It's probably a bad idea, but the publisher had already printed the books. And so he shouldn't have gone forward with it, but he did. And this is the problem. When you try to bust Trump on stuff like classified documents, despite the fact that from Mike Pence to Joe Biden to Hillary Clinton to Leon Panetta, all the people who classified documents in the past that had a wrist slap or less in this country and never been held accountable, you try to hold Trump accountable, the one former president of that group, and then, of course, is going to open up a whole vein of opportunity for Trump to go after his enemies.
I mean, isn't that the best part, Matt? Is that, I mean, the one guy that actually had the presidential authority with classified documents, the one person that probably should have been handled with kid gloves, is the guy that they actually tried to imprison for this after they let everybody else off the hook. And John Bolton was out there lending his credibility to it and making it seem like this made sense and talking about how serious this was. And then at the end of the day, he gets it. He's got the same thing going on in his own personal life. It's just the same kind of hypocrisy that we saw with Joe Biden talking trash about this, and then you find it all over Biden's home and offices. Go ahead, Matt.
Well, I mean, this is a little bittersweet for me because I know John Bolton very well. Yeah. I asked him to serve on the CPAC board. He used to be a conservative luminary. He used to sign all of our direct mail. But these neocons seem to have lost their mind, and they really lost their mind when it came to Trump. And the saddest thing of all is when I see people of this ilk who took to the airwaves night after night after night and tried to justify Republicans not supporting Trump because somehow Trump was a choice that was outside some kind of zone of reasonableness. And they couldn't stop, and it led them to this great hypocrisy, as you just pointed out. He unfortunately went on TV and made it sound like what Trump did with the documents in Mar-a-Lago had any impact at all on our national security. And that's why these laws are there. And I think Alex would agree with me. The reason why there's all these strictures around handling classified information is because we don't want it to get into the wrong hands. We know when Hillary mishandled classified information, we know the Chinese and the Russians got all of those conversations. So this is really important. And for John Bolton, who was the person in the White House who was responsible for everyone following those laws, for him to break them is it's catastrophic for his career because it really ruins his credibility. And I just think it's the end of a sad chapter. I wish he'd come back to his senses.
Yeah. Alex, a little more from the indictment showing just how much information Bolton was sharing in the diary entries that he would send to his wife and daughter, according to the DOJ, included a description of classified information related to a foreign government's activities, might begin with the intel briefer said, or a description of classified information learned during a military briefing might begin with, while in the Situation Room, I learned that. From that, I want to take a listen to this because you always try to figure out what the other side's going to say about this. Here's Andrew Weissman on MSNBC, who seems to think that this is a pretty serious case.
They not just retained, but transmitted classified information. That is a serious offense, and it is something that as somebody who is in the intelligence community cares deeply about, and that is why people care deeply about what Donald Trump was charged with doing, because these are documents that should not see the light of day, and you are trained on how to keep them. And if it can be shown that you did this intentionally, there are lots of people who have been prosecuted and lots of people who have gone to jail and served time for crimes like this.
Lots of people have been prosecuted. Lots of people went to jail and served time for crimes like this. Alex.
Yeah, I want to speak personally about John Bolton for a second because Matt brought it up. And I've known John Bolton for a long time, Rob. I think I've interviewed him over 100 times. That's not an exaggeration. It might be 200. And I think he truly is brilliant. But what's proven to me is that John Bolton cares a lot more about John Bolton than he cares about the future of this republic. And I can tell you that if he's convicted of this stuff, then it's because that he saw dollar signs in his eyes. He saw more power in his eyes. He thought a way of elevating himself in his career. And he was using these things to try to either enrich himself or empower himself. And it was not helping the country. And he was given a very powerful role because people like me at the time and like President Trump believed he could be helpful in that role. And that's the ultimate disgrace of all this.
Alex, can I jump in on that too? Because I agree. Look at the name of his book, In the Room Where It Happens. You know, my wife served alongside him. She didn't write a tell-all book. When you serve a president, when you respect the process, you keep the secrets. You know, I've had great conversations with President Trump. You know, I would never exploit that for public gain. And, you know, and he did. And it's almost like the whole service was a game so that he could capture all this information and then, as you said, profit on a book. And that's scurrilous in and of itself. Whatever happened to having honorable public service and trying to advance the cause that you believe in? It's a cause that he, unfortunately, is the Benedict Arnold to.
He cheered for this when it happened to Trump. He made it seem credible, and it's not surprising that the eyes of the DOJ were on what he had done in the past. As you said, it was warned by that judge, and here we are. It's as simple as that, maybe. Matt Schlapp, Alex Marlow, good to see you both. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
We'll follow the case, of course. Moving along, the left continuing its outrageous assault on common sense immigration. The latest headline, Chicago District Judge Sarah Ellis, born in Canada to Jamaican parents, telling ICE agents they must wear body cameras while operating in the Windy City. A scolding of ICE agents by this judge, a shepherd of the left-wing ideology. Just the latest ridiculous federal judge exposing her globalist political views and using them in a way of power. Saying, I live in Chicago and I'm not blind. I don't live in a cave. I have a phone, I have a TV, I have a computer, and I tend to get news, and I'm a little startled, frankly, I'm getting images and seeing images in the paper, reading reports, and I'm having serious concerns that my order is being followed. Again, where were all of these concerns from all of these people when they just dumped 20 million illegals into the country and called it asylum? No, nobody was worried about it then. Judge Ellis admitting media reports are driving her decisions. Well, here's one from NPR she might have seen. An unnecessary act of force. ICE agents tear gas Chicago neighborhood this week. Well, there's just one problem with media reports on all of this. They are extremely skewed and biased, and the biased judge is reading the biased media reports. That crowd was hurling rocks at ICE agents before ICE agents dispersed the tear gas, which is so concerning to this judge. Here's the reality of it as reported by a panicked ABC News reporter.
Oh, God. Protesters are starting to throw rocks. We're going to get away from the scene right now, Judy.
Protesters started throwing rocks, and you can see that there is some chemical being deployed.
Oh, so the judge is startled by what she's seeing from the behavior of ICE agents. Well, the media is lying about that behavior, the media that she's reading, and the amount of disinformation on immigration and ICE right now is just incredible. It is surreal to see what's happening and the propaganda being fed to the American people that's turning everybody so violently against common sense immigration in this country. The lies being told by desperate illegals who just don't want to go home, defiantly demanding to stay in a country and work for premium American wages where millions of them, let's be honest, don't have to pay income taxes. They say they pay taxes because they pay sales tax and everything else. What's the biggest tax you pay? Income. So many of them don't pay that at all. And they feel entitled to stay here in this country and continue to get those wages. And we have mainstream Democrats perpetuating the lies that are getting ICE agents attacked as well. Illinois' governor refusing to acknowledge federal agents were attacked in Chicago in that tear gas incident first, after their vehicle was rammed intentionally as they chased two criminal illegals through the streets of Chicago, and then were attacked by a crowd that had gathered at the crash site. Again, they're there, they get into a car accident, and then a crowd of people in this neighborhood who are all very anti-ICE show up and start throwing rocks at them and dangerous objects at them, reported by ABC, until ICE deployed tear gas in self-defense. But this is how J.B. Pritzker puts it.
ICE is causing this mayhem. They're the ones who are tossing tear gas when people are peacefully protesting. ICE is the one who's going into neighborhoods where they, frankly, are causing fear among people who live in those neighborhoods, work in those neighborhoods. And so they need to back off.
Yeah, they need to back off. Peaceful protest. They just tear gas people that were peacefully there saying, please be nice to our illegal friends. Yeah. Tossing tear gas at peaceful protesters. It should be a crime to lie like that when you're the head of a state, when you're the leader of a state. He should be liable for any attacks on ICE officers in his state because he is responsible for it. The rhetoric from these people is absolutely out of control. The lies around this subject being used to turn the American people against common sense immigration, because what they've done with all these asylum seekers is their only way to get back power in this country. Regular Americans don't vote for these people. They need a new voter base. So they're going to say whatever the hell they have to make sure that the people that they dumped into your country, that cost them all of that political capital for the last 4 years, cost them this last election, they're going to make damn sure that those people stay in this country, because that's their only ticket to getting back into power. You got to legalize them, let them vote, and then they'll never lose again. Take a listen to more of this nonsense from a washed-up Bravo host turned left-wing podcaster. This is what the conversation about immigration in this country sounds like.
He is married to a woman of Indian descent.
Yes.
He has mixed-race children.
Yes.
So to all of the MAGA voters out there, if this man will not defend his wife and will not defend his kids, do you think he gives a crap about you?
Talking about the Vice President of the United States from the over plastic surgery washed-up star. Again, conflating legal immigration with illegal immigration, which is what they do all the time. You want to remove the illegals in this country, you're anti-immigration. No, you're not. You just want legal immigration. The only way these people can win the propaganda war is to lie. It's true. Trump and J.D. Vance both married immigrants into this country. Both their wives have an accent. Legal immigrants, though. the immigrants who wait in line, who pass the test to come in. The Republican Party is actually pro-immigration because they're pro-legal immigration, which was uniform, that idea, between both parties before Democrats somehow turned into the party of American suicide over the last 10 years. ICE Director Todd Lyons joins us now to talk more about all of this. I can't believe where the conversation and the rhetoric has gone here. And I don't know how you can have a governor of a state that goes on TV every day and just blatantly lies about the actions of your agents.
Oh, Rob, it's horrible. And, you know, it seems like we spend most of our time playing defense, but I think we have to, because really the people need to honestly know. You know, one of the big frustrating things for us is, you know, we are getting help from our other DHS partners like the Border Patrol, like Customs and Border Protection. And all the time we say, ICE is doing this, ICE is doing that. Well, at least can they get the uniforms right? You know, we're out there trying to go after the worst of the worst, which we are. And we have to rely on so many other partners. But there are so many elected officials that just totally turn the narrative on stuff that's totally not true. You know, I've had to spend most of my time defending a photo that wasn't even any DHS entity from years ago of some local police department zip tying a small child. And then yet we got blamed for it. It seems every day the narrative gets twisted on us, and it really goes against what the brave men and women of ICE are doing every day, and that is arresting these violent criminal aliens.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, they had to figure out a way. They dumped all these people into the country, and it did cost them so much political capital. What the scheme they did on immigration cost them everything. It cost them the House, the Senate, and the presidency. So that was a very costly investment that they had to make into moving a lot of people into this country that they hope will be perpetual voters for their party. The idea that they're all going to be thrown out of the country is an existential threat to their power and to their party. So they have to figure out some way to turn the American people against something that is so normal and just so critical for any first world country, which is immigration control and having a border. Every country has a border. So they do this, and they just blatantly lie, which is the most disgusting part of it. I wanted to get your reaction to the judge and the ruling about your officers having to wear the body cameras in Chicago.
I tell you, Rob, it's unconstitutional, the first thing, right? And again, she's using her own views on a situation to dictate how a federal law enforcement agency is going to act. You know, one thing the judge doesn't realize is the majority of ICE officers and special agents do have body-worn cameras. We started rolling that out under the last administration.
Right.
It just hasn't rolled out to everyone yet. So as we keep bringing this program online, we'll have more and more cameras. But what she doesn't realize is there have been so many cases that ICE has had body-worn camera footage to totally refute so many claims that we have. So to her ruling first, like I say, it's unconstitutional, but we are doing what we can because we want to be transparent. It's the reason why we post all the worst that we arrest. You know, I really don't think the governor wants to look and see, or this judge, like if she has a TV, then she should see that we are arresting the worst and the worst. So is she protecting a child rapist, a TDA gang member? It's ridiculous.
Yeah, no, the people they're protecting is the most twisted thing, and the lies. And the amazing to see how many people that have so much like social media clout. I see these young people all the time, and they don't even know what they're talking about. And they're speaking to hundreds of thousands of people that are 25 years old and turning them into these anti-ICE psychopaths with just built on complete lies. It's scary, and you have to deal with it at the front lines. The ICE Director, Todd Lyons, thanks for coming on. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Rob. Good seeing you.
Too. All right. It used to be racist to think that minorities were less than whites. Today, it's racist to believe they're not. We're going to discuss the latest insane comment from Biden's Supreme Court pick next with our good friend Bob Woodson.
Just before Charlie Kirk died, he issued a stark warning of terrifying dangers ahead. Charlie wrote this in the foreword for the new book, Pagan Threat, by Pastor Lucas Miles. Charlie said that Pagan Threat could save America and that you must read and share this book. A #1 Amazon bestseller, Pagan Threat is available everywhere. Get Pagan Threat free with Newsmax's special offer and save $30. Go online today and read Charlie's final words.
Things are a little different here on Riverbend Ranch. Our days start a little earlier, and our meetings don't take place in boardrooms. And the folks gather around the water hole rather than the water cooler. Truth is, all our cattle are born and raised right here in the USA, and we raise them a lot different than most outfits. I'm told that most city folks don't know that up to 90% of cattle grown in America have been implanted with artificial growth hormones and fed antibiotics. But at Riverbend Ranch, we raise our calves the old-fashioned way, and they're never given growth hormones and never fed antibiotics. That's because we don't like to mess with Mother Nature. We believe that cattle grown naturally is not only better for the cattle, but also better for those who show up for dinner. We think you'll notice it's more tender and has a better flavor. That's because 35 years ago, we began selecting genetics for our Angus herd focused on flavor and tenderness. 35 years of genetic selection. And that's made all the difference. Angus beef is special. But wait till you taste our Angus beef. One bite will say it all. Order from riverbendranch.com. We ship directly from our ranch to your home. Riverbend Ranch. Real American beef.
I tried the new 100 milligram generic Viagra for only 87 cents from Friday Plans that everyone is talking about. I wanted to see if it's a scam. Here's what happened. I just had to fill out the online health form, which took me under 2 minutes, and a licensed doctor approved me for a free prescription the same day. They even included free 3-day discreet shipping right to my door. I tried my first tablet, and within 30 minutes, it was working as well as the name brand. My wife can't stop smiling, and my confidence is through the roof. Scan the QR code or go to grabfridayplans.com to try it for yourself. I still can't believe I got 9 tablets of 100 milligram generic Viagra for just $7. I feel like I'm in my 20s again. My wife even told me, "You're like a whole new man." Don't wait as long as I did. It is the best $7 I have ever spent. Scan the QR code or go to grabfridayplans.com right now to get yours before this deal runs out.
Pretty extraordinary moment yesterday during a Supreme Court hearing after the Supreme Court heard oral arguments in the landmark case Louisiana versus Calais from yesterday. The 6-3 conservative court looks poised to finally end race-based gerrymandering, which is something that's very un-American in nature, but was seen as something that needed to be done, to heal the sins of America's racist past. This is where states form congressional districts to intentionally give African Americans a majority in that district. So they gerrymander them to find enough Black Americans so that there's more Black Americans than any other race in that district. For decades, this has been used under the guise of ending discrimination, even though it is discrimination. Yesterday, while clearly trying to protect Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act and this style of gerrymandering, Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson compared Black Americans to the disabled.
Congress passed the Americans with Disabilities Act against the backdrop of a world that was generally not accessible to people with disabilities. And so it was discriminatory in effect because these folks were not able to access these buildings. I don't understand why that's not what's happening here. The idea in Section 2 is that we are responding to current day manifestations of past and present decisions that disadvantage minorities and make it so that they don't have equal access to the voting system, right? They're disabled.
They're disabled. Apparently, African Americans cannot figure out how to vote in this country, even in the year 2025. I know Bob Woodson does, though, the founder and president of the Woodson Center. You vote, and sir, it's good to have you back on the show. I said this in the tease, but it used to be racist in this country to say that Black or brown people were less than whites, less intelligent, less capable than whites. That was racist 20 years ago. In today's new version of racism, it's racist if you believe that they are equal and that they don't deserve special privileges. So it's flipped.
Yeah, I prefer the old-fashioned racist.
Explain. Go explain more.
Coming from Klan and people who are racist, rather than some people who are supposed to be champions of blacks. The whole assumption that somehow that black interest, that the totality of black interest is served by putting a black in office. That was the great promise. But there was a bait and switch game going. We used the conditions of poor blacks as the bait, And then when the remedy, when the solutions and the money arrived, it went to upper income. The biggest barrier between blacks today is not race. Upper income blacks and lower income, but the income gap between upper income blacks and lower income blacks is greater now than it was back in 50 years ago.
Yeah.
If racism were the sole culprit, why aren't all blacks suffering equally?
You know, it's interesting that, I mean, we brought equality in, and it didn't solve the issue, I think, for a large subsection of the black community. And the problem now, I believe, is that they refuse to admit that there's a culture issue inside that community. And so to avoid blaming that and to avoid taking responsibility for what's happened to their community, they're now saying, okay, well, it wasn't just equality that we needed. Now we need equity, which is flipping it on its head, right? And I think that's where we are at the current status quo. And people like Ketanji Brown Jackson have bought into that hook, line, and sinker.
Well, it's even worse, because when white Democrats engage in corrupt or illicit activity, the expectation is that fellow Democrats will distance themselves from them. And when white Republicans do that, that's why Nixon's picture is not at the RNC's office. But when black elected officials engage in corrupt or illegal activities, there is silence or an embrace of it. Character is more important than politics. For instance, I just found out that Jesse Jackson Jr. has just announced that he's going to run for his old office, even though when he was in office, he didn't show up for 5 months. His people in the 2nd Congressional didn't have representation for 5 months, and he was reelected without showing up at his office for 5 months. And he went to jail for 2 years, and now he wants to come back.
That's so surreal.
And Corinne Brown, too, who was 10 years from Florida.
Yeah.
She went to prison for taking money that was supposed to go to poor blacks in her district. She used it to go on spending sprees on Rodeo Drive. And she went to prison. She declared that she's running for office again. So the real crisis in America in voting is not racial. It is character crisis and a cultural crisis.
That's well
That's
said.
What we're facing.
Well
but
said.
We won't talk about that.
Yeah, they can't have that conversation. It's the responsibility factor of it is too heavy. Bob Woodson, we appreciate you having an honest conversation about it, as always. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Hey, we got some breaking news. John Bolton, who's just been indicted for classified documents, illegal handling of classified documents, releasing a statement, just came out. Reading in part, Trump, who embodies what Joseph Stalin's head of secret police once said, "You show me the man and I'll show you the crime." These charges are not just about his focus on me or my diaries, but his intensive effort to intimidate his opponents to ensure that he alone determines what is said about his conduct. Dissent and disagreement are foundational to America's constitutional system and vitally important to our freedom. I look forward to the fight to defend my lawful conduct and to expose his abuse of power. He brings up the Stalin, show me the man, I'll show you the crime. That's exactly what they did to Donald Trump. And as I said before, John Bolton was one of the cheerleaders of that activity when it was happening, lending his credibility and all the years he had spent in Washington to the case of classified documents against Trump, which, again, ironically, he's the one guy that probably could take classified documents because he was an ex-president. John Bolton was not. What a story. More indications the White House is considering regime change in communist Venezuela. We're going to analyze a potential motive for a potential very bold move next.
As Israel suffers attacks on 7 different fronts, it's her poor and elderly who are barely making it through each day.
The tears are from the pain of the life that she's lived. She's a survivor of Auschwitz. The years that they would just beat her, years that she didn't have food and felt hungry.
She paid a horrible price to come home from Ethiopia. She lost in that journey her 6-year-old son. A couple of weeks later, she lost her family. She is a wonderful woman, and she is very poor.
I pray that we answer these cries, and our answer is love.
Zipporah, if
With a gift of only $25, you'll deliver a life-saving food box into the hands of an elderly Jew in need.
She's saying people have a heart. There are good people today.
Call, scan, or go online now, and the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews will rush your food box today.
Hallelujah. This is a holy moment. What you're doing is not simply being kind. You are prophetically stepping into the scriptures and being part of their redemption and our own.
When you call right now, your gift will be doubled to help save lives. Call now.
In a world where Israel is under attack, Christians can help fulfill biblical prophecies through practical support and genuine friendship.
For everything you are doing, thank you. It's perfect.
This is what a simple food box does.
You can bring joy, hope, and love to someone praying for your help today. So please, call, scan, or go online now.
Get the life back. Okay, we're good. He's breathing. Okay.
When I saw that Ethan was not breathing, I determined that I needed to use something to remove the obstruction from his airway.
It's very important for every household to have a life vest.
Everyone should have one in their home. Anything can happen at any moment.
I want my friends and family and people that I serve to know that we have this device to potentially save lives.
Protect your family. Go to lifevac.net.
Go to lifevac.net or call 877-543-3822.
As we mark 250 years of America, Wounded Warrior Project honors those who serve. They've given us their commitment and sacrifice. We're here to give them a brighter future. Our programs and services help warriors access VA benefits, improve mental and physical health, and thrive for a lifetime. They've given us their best. Join us in supporting them through the next 250 years of strength and resilience. Visit woundedwarriorproject.org/USA250.
Total Beats Ultimate Heart Health is the newest innovation from America's best-selling Beats brand. Ultimate Heart Health contains a key ingredient clinically shown to deliver 2 times better blood pressure support, plus CoQ10 for even better heart health. Find Total Beats Ultimate Heart Health at Walmart today.
Welcome back. Continuing to follow what is happening with Venezuela as the president is escalating that pressure campaign on this communist nation in South America. Yesterday, the White House announcing that the president authorized the CIA to conduct covert missions inside this collapsing communist country after the report came out in the New York Times, the White House confirming that. And then today, U.S. Special Operations helicopters were spotted less than 90 miles off the coast of Venezuela. U.S. officials saying the choppers were engaged in training exercises that could serve as preparation for expanded conflict against drug traffickers, including potential missions inside Venezuela. Now, you have all of this on top of the targeting of drug boats as well. We had the 5th strike happening earlier this week. They've killed nearly 30 drug runners that they say have come from Venezuela, also some from Colombia as well. Derek Maltz is the former director of Special Operations for the DEA. He knows Venezuela very well, and he joins us now. And Derek, it's good to have you on tonight. This is a fascinating thing to me. It's clear we're picking a fight with Venezuela, of all countries. Trump says it's about drugs. It feels like there's something else going on. I wonder if you have a theory here.
Well, it's not a theory. We live this nightmare. Venezuela has been a narco state, a command and control for global drug trafficking around the world. This administration has made it crystal clear that they're going to hold criminals accountable. They're going to reestablish law and order. And they're not just saying it, they're doing it. And we're watching it live when these boats are blown up. Let's not forget that Maduro allowed the TDA monsters to come into this country and wreak havoc around our country. But they also flooded America for over 25 years, even before Maduro with Chavez. And they put this poison in our country, and we're losing historic amounts of Americans. So anybody out there that's questioning a decision to use military assets to go after this threat, pay attention to the babies that are dying in this country and the kids that are dying at historic levels. We never had a terrorist organization kill this many Americans. So thank God this administration is finally stepping up, and they're going to go after these people. And by the way, I would not want to be on the receiving end of the greatest military of the world. And it's a global force of good defeating evil, and that's what this president is doing, Rob.
Unquestionably, Venezuela is a terrible country. It's it's part of the axis of nations that hate the United States. They have terrible actors, and the dictator Maduro is an awful human being. Do you think is the goal here going to be to oust him? Do they want to kill Maduro? They have this other woman who just thanked Trump after she won the Nobel Peace Prize. Are they trying to install a Western-friendly government in this nation that's been such a pain in our rear for so many years?
Well, number one, they're trying to decimate the cartel's ability to kill our citizens, thank God. Yeah. But obviously, there's some very, very high-level plans going on, and I wouldn't be surprised if they took him out. If I was Maduro, I'd be very concerned because we have a president in the United States now that cares about Americans and is putting Americans first. So he's going to be on the run. Cartel del Sols is going to be decimated. The work that they've been doing with the FARC in Colombia, the ELN in Colombia, and all these corrupt military officials, they're all going to have issues. So I applaud the efforts. I look forward to the results.
Let's talk, Mexico for a second. I mean, obviously, I don't think that the leader of Mexico is nowhere near as heinous as Maduro is. But what we see in Mexico with these cartels, I mean, now they're putting out hits on ICE agents and CBP agents here in the United States. The cartels that I think really run Mexico, probably more than the president does, are another serious issue. If Trump is this bold to be going after Venezuela in this way, do you think at some point they're going to pick a fight with these cartels? And how would the Mexican leadership and the government respond to that?
Well, let's be real clear, Rob, that this president in Mexico has stepped up and has removed 55 very, very top-level Mexican cartel leaders into America. I was at Dulles Airport when the leaders of Los Zetas arrived, Z40, Z42, so it's unprecedented. Kiki Camarines' killer, Rafael Quintero, arrived in New York. So she's doing some good work. They're putting more and more pressure on the cartels in Mexico as long as they continue to support what this president wants and what's good for their country. A lot of people forget these monsters have created havoc in Mexico. Yeah, they're generating a lot of money, and unfortunately the corruption is very, very high. But this president has been doing a good job, so I applaud her effort.
Back to Venezuela, I got one final question. Do you think Nicolas Maduro will be the leader of Venezuela in 6 months?
Absolutely not. I wouldn't give it that long, not with this president and not with this Secretary of War. Right now, it's like unprecedented. It's exciting because all the families that I work with, Rob, they can't believe what's happening. This is what they've been looking for. But we got to start educating the kids in America on social media, because if we don't educate them, the drug use is going to continue.
Derek Maltz, former director of special ops for the DEA. Hey, Derek, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you. Have a great night.
You too. New York Times says Trump only wants white refugees in this country and is looking at a plan to overhaul the entire system. We'll talk about that next.
Kevin Sorbo here, and I have an important message to share. The government needs more money, your money. If you owe the IRS back taxes, they can garnish your wages and levy your bank accounts. They can even seize your retirement or take your home. Don't let the IRS target you. Call the professionals at Tax Network USA. Their tax lawyers and enrolled agents are experts in powerful programs that may even help you eliminate your tax debt.
Call for a free consultation or visit tnusa.com.
Frank Parisi was a fireman for 32 years. He's retired now, but not a day goes by that he doesn't think about the friends he lost and the lives he saved along the way. I wanted to know where it comes from, this willingness to run toward danger when everybody else is running in the other direction.
It starts within. You have to have it in you to go into danger, but you don't realize it. And you got to do your job, you're trained, and it just clicks in. It's got to be in you, though. It's not for everybody. And you have a satisfaction. I have 2 life-saving awards, and I saved a couple of people, and they're still around today, and it makes you feel good.
Frank switched to Pure Talk for the same reasons I did. He appreciates a fair deal, and he wanted to be in business with a company that shares his values. If that sounds like you, the offer on the screen is the real deal. Just like Frank, a proud American who switched to a wireless company that actually stands for something. Pure Talk.
With Jackpocket, you can order official state lottery tickets anytime, anywhere. And you can see your ticket on the app. Plus, with access to Powerball, Mega Millions, and more, with Jackpocket, your favorite games are right at your fingertips. Download Jackpocket today.
My name is Deanna Perazzo, and I'm a professional wrestler. I want to use my spotlight to help T2T because my husband was a combat veteran. Helping vets is so important because they're often the most disregarded people in our society. And so to be able to say, like, we see you, we see the sacrifice, we see the struggle you go through to support us in our scariest moments, that deserves to be celebrated, that deserves to be honored. Please help by donating $11 a month at T2T.org. Let us do good.
What's gold is new again. Pardon the pun. But considering gold has been used as currency since around 550 BC, it has been on fire the past year. I'm here with Daniel Boston, the founder of Preserve Gold. Why is gold so stable and such a good investment for many people?
Take the central bank, for example, the Federal Reserve. They print money out of thin air, and then they take that printed money to go buy hard assets like gold to protect themselves against the very risks that they're creating. So I always tell people, don't do what the big players are telling you to do. Do what they're doing themselves.
Yeah, watch what they're doing.
That's correct.
Okay. If people are interested in investing with Preserve Gold, how do they get started?
Text Newsmax to 50505 to get your free information and up to $15,000 in free gold and silver with a qualified purchase. That's right. Text Newsmax to 50505.
All right. No way you can miss it.
It is not, generally speaking, unruly.
The dehumanizing rhetoric of Adolf Hitler is once again alive and well.
This version of Biden is the best Biden ever.
All right, so the Trump administration is considering a much-needed overhaul of the U.S. refugee system, which we've seen totally exploited in recent years. Significantly cutting the amount of refugees that they bring in is what's being considered, and giving preference to English speakers and those with a better chance of acclimating to American culture. White South Africans and also Europeans discriminated against in their own countries for their political views would potentially be on a preferential list for refugees. Now, this comes as Westerners have all collectively realized that multiculturalism has been a disaster for the West, something that even Angela Merkel admitted years ago after she destroyed Europe. But it was too late. And now we're seeing what's happening in the EU. The EU is turning into a caliphate right before our eyes. Trump is interested in devising a way to stop that from happening here. The New York Times, naturally reporting on this story, is furious over this. Guilt-ridden liberals take great pride in decimating the culture of this country. They don't like when people try to stop that. The Times says these changes would transform a decades-old program aimed at helping the world's most desperate people into one that conforms to Mr. Trump's vision of immigration, which is to help mostly white people who they say are being persecuted while keeping the vast majority of other people out. So they're framing it in the worst way possible. The Times showing their clear bias and propaganda by saying Mr. Trump has claimed that Afrikaners, who are the white South Africans, face racial persecution in their home country, a claim vigorously disputed by government officials there. The New York Times conveniently ignoring images like this one of that highway we've shown you before in South Africa is miles long, more than 1,000 crosses each for a white South African farmer who has been murdered, activity that's been practically sanctioned by the government. And two hosts, Ed Henry and Rick Leventhal, join us now to talk more about this, and good to see you both. Ed, the Biden White House weaponized, they exploited our asylum laws, they dumped millions of people into our country, zero outrage over all of that. Trump trying to save us from becoming the next Europe, and they explode.
Yeah, and the president has been pretty open. Think about the UN General Assembly speech just a couple weeks ago before he forged Mideast peace, where he was telling European leaders who had all endorsed a Palestinian state that's never going to work or happen, you're wasting your time on this, when in fact, in your own countries, you're being overrun with these refugees. And, you know, whether it's Ireland, it's France, it's Germany, they're all dealing with the impact of illegal immigration, which the president dealt with decisively here in America, and we're seeing the benefits of it.
That's exactly right. Rick, the proposed changes would put new emphasis on whether applicants would be able to assimilate into the United States, directing them to take classes on American history and values and respect for cultural norms. You go back 30, 40 years ago, Rick, and that used to be the expectations of people coming into this country. Now many come in here and they expect to maintain their home country's culture, fly their home country's flag, speak their native language here in the United States. There's no expectation of people coming here anymore. That's not good for the culture of this country.
Well, I would have to agree with that. We saw people flying flags from their home countries when they were protesting against the immigration crackdown in Los Angeles, for example. And if you're flying a flag of your home country, well, maybe that's where you should be. If you want to be in America, you should fly an American flag. And Rob, I'm all about immigration. Obviously, it's very important for the future of this country. It just has to be done the right way. And what we've seen over the last few years was it being done the absolute wrong way. So whatever changes are being made to tighten it up and make people fill out the proper paperwork and qualify for the right reasons to come to America with the right intentions, all of that is great. But first we have to clean house and get the people who don't belong here out. And all the objections to that is just mind-blowing to me.
Yeah, I mean, you think about, you look at London recently, you look at Paris recently, go to Minneapolis, in one neighborhood of Minneapolis, it looks like Mogadishu. I mean, this is not what people, that's not the immigration that Americans want. Nobody in their home respective country would want that to come into their country. Even in those places, they wouldn't want to see a different culture come in and just take over and spread and not acclimate. It just doesn't work. That's where the multiculturalism has failed quote came from Angela Merkel. We have to blend together. We have to, you have to acclimate. I want to show you guys this before I let you go. This was something, Nancy Pelosi losing it on a reporter from Lindell TV yesterday when asked about January 6th. Watch this reaction.
Congresswoman Pelosi, are you at all concerned that the new January 6th committee will find you liable for that day? Are you at all concerned about the new January 6th committee finding you liable for that day? Why did you refuse the National Guard on January 6th?
Shut up. I did not refuse the National Guard. The president didn't send it. Why are you coming here with Republican talking points as if you're a serious journalist?
Ed, she admitted in that HBO documentary that her daughter was filming on that day. Right. That they screwed the pooch, that they should have been more ready. And now she's really angry getting that question. When she's that mad, Rick, that means something.
Shut up.
Shut up.
You shut up. And you shut up. And you shut up. Shut up.
It says something.
Childish. You're right.
Ed, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, and it's like Katie Porter, right? I mean, we talked about that last week, and I'd thread the needle here to say that these Democrats are so entitled. How dare you ask me a question? Because I think part of it is they're elites, obviously, and they don't want to face questions. But number two, the mainstream media has coddled them for so long. The country's turning on them, and Pelosi doesn't know what to do because some real journalists are saying, hey, what about January 6th? She's on tape, as you say, refusing the National Guard. And President Trump himself at one time, a few years ago, showed me a document where he was requesting, say, get ready, the National Guard should be there. And the former Capitol Police chief has backed up President Trump and said Pelosi refused. So the facts are against her. She doesn't want to answer the question. They're so entitled.
Yeah, I mean, that was a hell of a moment there to see that. She gets
and the best thing about Katie Porter, she can't say for sure there aren't more videos out there that make her look terrible. She wouldn't answer that question either, Rob.
That's so true. Good to see you both, guys. Rick and Ed.
Good to see you.
Thanks a lot. The glutton is also a gambler. Next.
Your bathtub is a problem. It's outdated and unsafe. The solution, a stunning new shower from Jacuzzi Bath Remodel, installed in as little as 1 day. Right now, call and Jacuzzi will waive all installation costs, and you won't make a payment for up to a year. Jacuzzi offers so many modern styles with luxurious features like soft closed doors. Jacuzzi delivers style and safety. Upgrade to an easy entry shower With a custom seat and durable grab shelves, Jacuzzi has been a trusted name for over 70 years, and that means quality.
It is beautiful.
You deserve a bathroom that's beautiful and safe, so don't wait. Call right now.
Call or go online now to jacuzzibathremodel.com for a limited time offer. We're waiving all installation costs, plus 0 interest and 0 payments for up to 1 year.
Go to jacuzzibathremodel.com or call 800-384-3430.
I'm William Cross, creator of Neuropaway. I'm a type 1 diabetic and I've suffered from burning, tingling, and numbness in my hands and feet for most of my life. That's why I created Neuropaway, the only clinically proven nerve support product for burning, tingling, and numbness. Try our best-selling topical gel for near instant relief. With a real money-back guarantee, you've got nothing to lose but nerve discomfort. Neuropaway is available at all major retailers, or you can find us at neuropaway.com.
At Balsam Hill, we're crafting joy early this year. For a limited time, get pre-season savings on our beautifully designed lifelike Christmas trees, now made with more sustainable materials. Jumpstart the season and find your holiday spirit early this year at balsamhill.com.
Ransomware scares me.
Cyberman to the rescue. PCmatic blocks the ransomware that hijacks your computer and your data, then demands a ransom.
Hackers are terrifying.
Hackers are always spying on your computer. PCmatic's VPN stops hacking.
My computer is slow.
PCmatic makes your computer faster. PCmatic is made in America and protects homes, businesses, and governments.
Thank you, Cyberman. Go to PCmatic.com.
As parents, we all want to see our kids active, happy, and confident. Now we have the Gibbon Slackboard. It's a fun and easy way for kids to develop coordination, focus, and a growth mindset. Plus, every minute on the Slackboard is a minute off the screen, designed with safety in mind, and ready to use anytime, anywhere. Endless fun, a lifetime of benefits. Get yours today at gibbon-usa.com.
I wish I could just watch live sports at home for a great price.
Sling lets you do that. Sling lets you do that.
Choose and customize your channel lineup, or pause and watch for free. Sling lets you do that. Base package required.
Imagine this banana is a burner less lethal launcher, capable of shooting rock-hard kinetic and tear gas mixed with pepper chemical irritants.
The ammo can incapacitate an attacker from 60 feet away without causing death.
This Byrna less lethal launcher is legal in all 50 states. No permits required.
Over 600,000 Byrna pistol launchers have been sold to government agencies, law enforcement agencies, and to private citizens.
Do you want to know what the Byrna less lethal launcher looks like? Visit Byrna.com.
The best investment we can make is in our health.
With our Aquasana water filter, we know we're drinking cleaner, healthier water.
And that will pay the highest dividends. Now up to 50% off at aquasana.com.
Welcome back. Time now for news from the left. We saw with the USAID saga that the media clearly believes the American taxpayer should be paying to keep the entire world healthy and alive. More evidence of that tonight. The Associated Press reporting this headline: the tiny African nation of Lesotho had victories in its HIV fight. Then the U.S. aid cuts came. The blame is that the single stroke of a distant president's pen, much of a system credited with saving hundreds of thousands of lives, was dismantled. HIV-positive residents, families, and caregivers say the chaos that reigned most of this year has caused irreparable harm, and they're consumed with worry and uncertainty about the future. Most feel deep disappointment, even betrayal, over the loss of funds and support. Boy, the entitlement. Here's a question. Why aren't wealthy European countries paying to fight AIDS in Lesotho? They have tons of money and they've been protected and haven't had to have much of a military for a very long time, thanks to the United States. Why don't they cover the cost of fighting AIDS in this little tiny African nation? Why isn't the corrupt government of Lesotho selling some natural resources to spend that money to fight AIDS in their own country? Why is it your responsibility that your paycheck has to have A few bucks taken out to fight AIDS in Lesotho. And finally, tax filings released by J.B. Pritzker, the Illinois governor's campaign, show that the spoiled, rotten governor, the black sheep of a billionaire family, pocketed $10.7 million in income last year. He didn't earn any of it. He just probably dividends from his family's business. That includes, though, something kind of mysterious, $1.4 million in blackjack winnings at a casino in Las Vegas for the governor of Illinois. The campaign now saying he's going to be donating that money to charity. A lot of people, though, speculating on what on earth. How did he make that much money playing blackjack, and whether or not there's something else going on? Sad news to report tonight. Ace Frehley, co-founder, lead guitarist of the rock band Kiss, has died at the age of 74. A brain bleed after a bad fall last month at his home studio. Frehley spoke out after the incident to cancel upcoming tour dates. His health then declined. He went on a ventilator in the last few weeks. That's never a good sign. Kiss, one of the most influential and best-selling rock bands ever, losing its first member at 74 years old. Rest in peace to him. Why are those medication names so hard to say? Next.
Pergoveris. Why can't you name them nice, simple names?
Closed captioning brought to you by MagnaLife Knee Pain Relief for pain, stiffness, and inflammation of the knees.
The pain in your knees is real. Here's what real customers have to say about MagnaLife Knee Pain Relief Gel. It has worked wonders. I love it.
Available at your local retailer.
You'll find them in cities, towns, and suburbs all across America. Millions of people who have Medicare and Medicaid but may be missing benefits they could really use. Extra benefits they may be eligible to receive at no extra cost. And if you have Medicare and Medicaid, you may be able to get extra benefits too through a Humana Medicare Advantage dual-eligible special needs plan. These plans have a $0 monthly plan premium. Call now to see if you qualify. With a Humana Medicare Advantage dual-eligible special needs plan, you could have doctor, hospital, and prescription drug coverage, plus extra benefits in one convenient plan. Most plans include the Humana Healthy Options Allowance. Get over $1,000 a year. That's $85 a month to help pay for covered over-the-counter items like vitamins, pain relievers, first aid supplies, and more. Your allowance is conveniently loaded onto a prepaid card each month, and whatever you don't spend gets carried over to the next month. Ask us about all the items your allowance may cover. Plus, you could get other important benefits. All plans include dental coverage with $0 copays for covered preventive services, vision coverage, including eye exams, and a yearly allowance to use towards eyewear, and hearing benefits with routine hearing exams and coverage toward hearing aids. Plus, hundreds of prescriptions have a $0 copay, so you'll pay nothing for them all year long. And you'll have access to Humana's multiple large plan networks of doctors, hospitals, and pharmacies. Best of all, if you have Medicare and Medicaid, you may be eligible to enroll in a Humana Medicare Advantage dual-eligible special needs plan right now. So if you have Medicare and Medicaid, call now to see if there's a plan in your area that could give you extra benefits. But now is the time. The annual enrollment period ends December 7th. Humana, a more human way to health care.
If you have wet AMD or DME, you never want to lose sight of the things you love. And your condition doesn't have to steal the moment. Long-lasting EYLEA HD delivers powerful vision improvements that can save your vision for the future. EYLEA HD is the only treatment for wet AMD and DME that helped at least 8 out of 10 people go up to 4 months between injections after 3 initial monthly treatments. Don't take EYLEA HD if you have an eye infection, eye pain, redness, or are allergic to it. Eye injections like EYLEA HD may cause eye infection, separation of the retina, rare but severe swelling of blood vessels in the eye, or increased eye pressure. There is an uncommon risk of heart attack or stroke. There's still so much to see. Ask about next generation EYLEA HD, a treatment retina specialists trust.
And finally tonight, Trump announcing a deal with pharmaceutical company EMD Serono to bring down the cost of in vitro fertilization for women today, pledging to expand IVF access. A great moment, living up to a campaign pledge to women. And Trump, though, had a pretty funny moment as he had to say some of these medications, complaining about how complex the names have become.
IVF drug, Go, Null, F. So it's Go, Null, F. Is that a proper pronunciation? Close enough, right? Another common fertility IVF drug, and currently it's selling in Europe. It's Pergoveris. Pergoveris. And that's just sound nice name. Pergoveris. Why can't you name them nice, simple names?
Why can't you make the name simpler? Funny stuff. All right, that's all the time we got. Finnerty's next.